Hello world, it's Friday the 13th of January and we're looking at the weather for tomorrow, Saturday the 14th of January, first competition day of the Western Cape Regional Competition. Looking at the T-fire gram for 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, we can see that we've got an inversion. It's sitting at about 5,000 feet. It's a bit higher than it was today. The wind has come round to a southeaster from the northwest we had this morning, but it's still quite light at about 10 knots, or a bit less than 10 knots. If we have a look at the wind pattern, this is surface wind. We can see that in the valley that the wind is now going in the opposite direction to what it did this morning. What we find is that although the overall weather pattern is a southwester, the actual wind in the valley can go either way depending on the actual local conditions. So it's a bit unpredictable, a bit different. But we can see that we're getting wind speeds of up to 12, 14 knots. So it's a little bit stronger than it was today. And if we zoom out, we can see that those wind speeds are sitting at just under 12 knots, both in the north and in the east of Swellendam. You can see the wind is coming onto the ridge. In the valley, the wind gets ducted along the valley, and it's actually more southeasterly than it is onto the ridge. On the front ridge around Wellington, it's actually quite light. I don't think we'll get there tomorrow. Looking at 5 o'clock, you see the wind picks up some more. We get some of this wind gusting into the valley. This is more of a sea breeze effect, and we also have the same sea breeze effect coming in over the Cape Peninsula, over the flats. The wind on the front ridge comes around a bit more southeasterly, but it's actually still quite useful, and particularly if you look out towards Rawsonville, that could be quite useful flying still. Looking at the thermals and the instability, the height of the thermal top height. In the valley we're getting heights of up to 5,000 feet, but over 5,000 feet should make life at the start gate easier than it was today. A bit lower as we get beyond the valley, and if I zoom out you'll see that this blue is actually around 4,000 feet, and this turquoisey color is around 5,000 feet, so a bit higher to the east than it is to the north. At 5 o'clock we can see the sea breeze killing off the thermals, both on the peninsula and to the west of us, and also to the south, the Rifisona End area, south of the Rifisona End mountains. In the valley we still have some useful energy, and also still on the ridges. Zooming out, we can see this sea breeze coming in and killing off. That blue stops at about 3,000 feet, so it actually gets quite low, and we'll find that when we look at the details on the soundings, you don't want to be too late out in the east. Looking for cloud, we didn't mention cloud on today's forecast because it didn't really have much effect, but we will see some cloud tomorrow. This is at 2 o'clock, and it's well to the south of us on the other side of the Rifisona End mountains. Zooming out, we see that that cloud does reach Swellendam, and then further east, that's Riversdale and Herbertsdale. Our cloud base here is sort of into this turquoise, so I'd say 4,500 feet, maybe 5,000 feet. Not a problem at 2 o'clock. But as you get out to 5 o'clock, well, this is on the small scale, but the big scale, we can see that here at Swellendam it's getting lower. It is perhaps 3,500, 4,000 feet. It's become a bit more noticeable. So let's have a look at the soundings. First we go out to the western side towards Porterville, and we have a quick look there. We can see we've got an inversion at 4,000 feet, but it's working quite nicely. This wind is showing quite southerly on the Porterville Ridge. That's at 2 o'clock and at about 10 kilometers an hour. And later on, still this inversion still there, still the sea breeze picking up a bit more, but it's very southerly. And getting back from Porterville onto the Witzenberg in the late afternoon is going to be a little bit tricky. Going to the east rather, Robertson, 4,500 feet at 2 o'clock. This wind is quite easterly. That's a valley wind, but it's not very strong. 5 o'clock, still blowing easterly. There's still some sign of life here, and an inversion at still over 4,000 feet. Swellendam, 2 o'clock, and at 5 o'clock we see this cloud coming in, and this is actually showing it at about 3,500 feet. There's a chance of cloud on Swellendam. Further out, Riversdale, good. The cloud is here. It's not quite as low as it is in Swellendam. That Swellendam corner is a bit more exposed to the sea weather than the ridge further east. Herbertsdale, if we get that far, it's quite soarable at 2 o'clock, and at 5 o'clock the cloud is coming in. So east looks to be a useful option, but you don't want to come home too late from the east. We have to launch in the morning. So this is back at Worcester at 11 o'clock in the morning. You can see that we already have some thermic activity and thermals up to about 3,500 feet. The temperature here is about 27 degrees. And the temperature at 2 o'clock reaches 31, 32 degrees. So what we'll find is that the temperature will pick up quite rapidly towards midday, and that will be an indication that it's a good time to start launching. One last comment for tomorrow's weather. This is a convergence maximum up and down motion in the valley, the local valley, in the high resolution forecast, and you can see that these red lines, looks like convergence that we're getting when the sea breeze comes in and clouds with the valley there. So if you have time in the late afternoon, or if you have an opportunity, it may be worth looking around for some convergence. It's not as pronounced as we see it some days, but it's worth keeping your eye open for that. I'll update this forecast tomorrow morning if there's any significant changes. I've been comparing the model now that we're looking at, which is about a 24-hour forecast from the 48-hour one that was available earlier, and it's slightly hotter and slightly drier, which is getting better. So if the trend carries on, tomorrow might even be better still. Have fun, enjoy your flying, and fly safely.